welcome back here to the Central PA Pour, and Dave's in the house again with us, and Mr. Kevin is out traveling for work.
Yeah, he's gone again. Yeah,
so he's here a minute, gone a minute.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but that's what it is when you travel all around the world. He's a worldwide traveler.
Yeah, for his company. So, but he's getting to sample all that stuff, all that good beer from other countries. So, and we're sitting back here in PA, all jealous about that. So, hey, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Look us up on all your social media platforms, and get us where you're listening podcasts. So, look us up at Central PA Pour. And we have another guest sitting here with us in studio, and we're happy to have him here, and we are going to let him introduce himself. So welcome to the Central PA Pour.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing me in.
You're very welcome. So tell us a little bit about who you are and who you're with.
My name is Mike Knobb, and I'm with Starview Brews. We opened January of 2022. This was after about a 3.5-year build project. It took me quite a while to get the building ready, but my first venture into the brewing business was with Chickies Rock Cream Ale. This was a contract beer I had in the market from 95 to like 97, 98. And I actually had my first taste of homebrew way back in 78. My brother Bill made a beer kit. And I was quite amazed that you could actually make your own beer.
78, so that's going back a long time. I think as our conversation, this is probably you're one of the older brewers that have been doing it for that long a time.
I'm a little older than most brewers coming out now. I guess I was a slow learner. It took me a while to get everything going.
Or it could be just like a fine wine. It takes a lot longer to get that product.
They call me Parmesan.
So 78. So you've been doing it a long time.
Well, I first tried in 85 without much luck. Okay. Didn't realize my well water was contaminated at the time at my house. So I tried 3 batches and wasn't too successful, and had refinanced the house in, I think, 87 or something. Found out the well water was contaminated. Took care of that. And then I tried homebrewing again in 92 with a lot better luck.
Good. So the contract brewing, how did that come about before you opened up your own brick and mortar?
Well, I had a homebrew shop I opened up in Starview, where I live. It's the big city, real close to Mount Wolf. It's between 2 stop signs, and there's a trailer park there. And if a lot of people, you might not remember it, maybe you do, Starview 92.7.
Oh, I remember that. I grew up in Dover.
Was the classic rock station?
Rock.
No, it was the modern rock station then, because it wasn't classic rock back then.
Yeah, now it's classic rock. So, yeah, yep.
So Starview, it was named for the radio station, came from the same area where I lived. Okay. They started in a trailer park, and I lived actually in the small town right there. Bought that house the end of 83. Had the homebrew shop, and then had saw these other breweries starting to open. This is probably about 93, early 94. I thought, I'm going to try and open a brewery. And at the time, I decided to go with a contract brewing company. And I raised like $55,000 to do the contract brewing company. Hindsight being what it is, I would have raised a lot more money. Back then, I knew it all. At least I thought I knew it all.
We all still know it all. It depends on who you talk to, right?
But what I did wrong back then is I started the contract brewing company. Got the brand out there quite a bit. I was still working a full-time job, 3rd shift at AMP in East Berlin.
I remember AMP. It was.
I was a good company, but being on 3rd shift, I could go out and peddle the beer, and work during the day, burning the candle at both ends, but I was getting somewhere. The problem was I tried to grow from A to Z. I started with a contract brewing company, and then I had dreams of building a nice brewery in Marietta. My dreams were more like what Appalachia did up in Harrisburg.
Okay.
Problem was I had a king's dream and a pauper's budget. So I had these grandiose glasses, and I did actually had I landed up an investor. We bought a building. Problem was the amount of money it was going to take to convert that building and fix it up.
Probably took a lot more money you were thinking about.
Well, back then it would have been over $1 million for that project.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
You know, you're talking 96, 97. And this is the same time Trogs started, Victory started. I mean, I was on the cusp back then when they started. Problem was I didn't have the finances they did, and they had a lot more smarts than what I had at the time.
Yeah, you were on the right track. It just, it took a little bit to where you're at.
I look at it, there's a reason it didn't work. You know, that things worked out the way they did. And I didn't have the idea of starting another brewery again until 2013. I was in a Lancaster Homebrew Club. I mean, I actually formed the York Area Homebrewers Association, which was a homebrew club that met at my garage when I had the homebrew shop.
Okay.
It was called Yaha. Formed that in 93. And then I also joined the Lancaster Homebrew Club, got involved with them. But kind of got away from New York Club when the contract brewing company didn't happen. I kind of quit brewing for a little while. Kind of got burned out on it. But then I got the bug again later. And got involved with the Lancaster Area Homebrewers Association. And we went to Nationals in 2013, which was in Philly. It was then I was thinking about, I got to try this again. I'm seeing all these breweries opening up that since I tried, a boatload afterwards came along and they're being successful. And I thought, I got to try again. So I wrote the original plan in 2013 and it took me till 2018. So I actually secured a building. I had a partner who actually, Mike Keller is my business partner. We worked together at AMP. He invested in me when I had chickies. Well, he was crazy enough to invest again. So here we are together. The other thing that took me a lot longer than I never expected. When you're on a redneck budget and you're trying to conserve money, I couldn't just hire a contractor to come in. It wasn't like I had $750,000 to do this project. Yep. So a lot of beer help, paying subs when I needed to. I did the design layout for the brewery. My job, full-time job, I'm basically a manufacturing engineer specializing in EDM, which is a machine shop.
Okay.
So I designed and did all the layout of the building. First thing after I met my landlord is I went in and measured everything and started laying everything out in cap. So design for the bar, the walk-in coolers, the layout of the electrical system. It took me a lot longer than I figured.
Well, you know what? It seemed to work. You know,
I'm finally getting there.
Yeah. and you were on the right track. I mean, and you were at the very. If it would have worked the first time, who knows where it would have landed? But
I still look back, hindsight being that it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
For some reason, it wasn't meant to be.
Exactly right. I mean, that door closed, but it opened up to another opportunity. And I think that I kudos you for keep chasing that dream and not giving up.
Took a while to come back around, but my one beer is named after me. It's called the Procrastinator. That's my doppelbock.
Well, at least you didn't say it was your doppelganger. So I think that's cool. Now, where is your physical location right now?
It's 224 Locust Street in Columbia, PA. We are a block away from Kettleworks.
Okay.
So the nice thing is if you come into town into Columbia, you got two breweries a block from each other that you can visit. And the guys at Kettleworks are great. They just did a new build out there. I love having the fact that we're only a block from each other.
Yeah, and we found this conversation with our numerous guests is that you're not in competition with each other. It's a community. No. You help each other out because there's so much variety out there.
Well, and the thing is, our market, we're not really taking from each other. No, our market is going back the way it was years ago, where people want to drink local. It's made right there local. Our market's coming from the big boys. Yeah. And more people are liking the idea of the fact they're walking in the brewery, it's made there. You're talking to the brewer. Not to mention the great food you can get in a lot of brew pubs.
Oh, my God, yeah. We've mentioned that. I don't mind paying more for a craft beer, and I don't mind paying because most of the time it's going to be decent, really good food. And I have no problems going in and dropping $50 at a local joint. I really don't.
One thing, I've always been a food junkie as well. My father was a Navy man, 20 years, 8 kids, and my dad loved to cook, and it rubbed off on a lot of us kids. And he was stationed, his last place was in Indian Head, Maryland. He was in the Navy. I was cracking hard shells when I was probably 3 years old. Love seafood. And one of our specialties is we do Imperial crab cakes at the brew pub. They're all meat, no breading, done in a convection oven. They're 8-ounce cakes, meaning you're getting the real thing.
I'm about ready to yell up to my wife, "Hey, honey, I know where we're going for crab cakes."
If you don't know what you're missing.
We are going to be making a trip to Starview Brews, so.
Right.
Well, we also feature shrimp and scallop bisque, which is like cream of crab base.
Oh, my.
And
do you realize I haven't eaten yet for supper? You're really making me hungry.
I should have brought a crab cake.
Well, Dave wants to do some food pairing ideas, so maybe we should have made that the recorded episode. So,
yeah, we want to go to the different tap rooms or in brew pubs and get them to trick out some of their good eats.
You're more than welcome to stop in there.
Yeah, and then pair it up with what they think is the best brew that would go with that.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to feature that on the podcast.
Count me in.
Now, do you do the cooking and the brewing, or do you got?
I was doing half the cooking to begin with. My wife was kitchen manager at Orndorff Elementary, Northeastern School District. She's taken over a lot of those duties. I was making the shrimp and scallop bisque. It's a recipe I've been doing for years. There's a chili recipe, a chicken and hot sausage chili recipe I've been doing for years. So I was making the soups to begin with. I was doing the crab cakes, but then I showed my wife knew how to do it. She took that over. And then Tony, a good friend of mine, Tony Barr, is now making the soups, which is freeing me up to do other things because I'm training an assistant brewer right now.
Okay.
And the biggest transition, the hardest thing to do is when you got to bring other people in and turn it on, let them go with it.
Yep, it is. Especially
and that's
if it
where
was
I'm
your
growing
baby.
now. Yeah. We've been blessed and have a good crew.
So this is now your full-time gig.
Oh, it has been since we opened.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of, I think we have a beer sitting here. So do you want to tell us a little bit about this first beer we're going to have, Mike?
Yes. This is my flagship.
Okay.
It is called Long Level Lager.
Long Level Lager. So if you're not familiar with this area, there's a Long Level on the Susquehanna River, correct? Is that where it came from?
Correct. That is south of Columbia, Wrightsville. Matter of fact, my wife and I just this year got a camper right down at Long Level.
Okay.
So you can imagine there'll be some beers poured at Long Level called Long Level.
I will say it is a very clear lager. So this is not, you said it was a Dortmunder? Or?
This is a Dortmunder, which is, this morphed out of my Helles recipe years ago. I've been brewing this beer since about 95.
So it's definitely been... You know how to do it.
Well, and it's morphed into, I made it a little stronger, a little heavier, a little maltier sweetness. I want to emphasize the malt sweetness.
Okay.
So it leans more towards a Dortmunder than a Helles anymore.
Yeah, because the Helles is I thought misunderstood the Helles, but that's more of a lighter lager.
It is a lighter lager. And this is actually a lighter lager, but a hint more.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Long Level Lager.
Good old German Dortmunder.
That is a well-balanced. I do get a little bit more maltiness out than would be like a lighter lager.
Mm-hmm. I purposely I step mash this to lean it a little sweeter. I do kind of like the traditional German step infusion because you can control the type of sugars you actually get out of the beer.
Okay. And
Versus a single infusion.
And explain the step fusion.
Step infusion was a way to kind of emulate the old decoction method they use in a lot of European lagers. Years ago, they had to do that because it was under modified malt. One thing I like with step infusion is I can go through a couple different temperature ranges to create different sugars in the finished beer. If you mash at a high temperature, like a 158 to 160, you get some unfermentable sugars that stay in the beer that the yeast can't chew up. You want some of that. It depends on what you're doing. I do a step mash that takes it through a range. I'll start low, but go through a range and finish high.
Okay.
So I'm not making it too sweet, but I'm getting different types of sugars versus a single.
Where you just mash it at one temperature.
One temperature. It's more time consuming. Some brewers claim there's no benefit to it. I feel there is from all my years of brewing, everything I've studied. I think it shows up in the finished product.
To me, I don't know. I would call this more of a sessionable beer because, well, session could be anything. Well, I could drink this all year long.
It's a 5-1. It's normal alcohol. And that's exactly it. I can sit and drink several pints and be okay. That's the one thing about normal alcohol beers. Normal alcohol doesn't mean less flavor.
No.
If it's made right, you're going to have flavor. You can have flavor in a low alcohol beer. Yeah. It's the same. People say they call it a science. I say, I equate it more to cooking.
And
it's a recipe, you know? I mean, the malt is the meat of the beer.
Yep.
Like if you're making a stew, a soup, you got beef, you can choose chicken, you can choose pork. The spices, you can choose different spices, the amount of spice. I equate brewing more on the recipe part. Now, naturally, yes, you got temperature control you got to do, the type of yeast. There's some scientific. Once you get the process dialed in, you're repeating the procedure, repeat the measure. I think that's the key to repeating good beer.
And it tells right there, I could drink that beer all day long. Well, maybe not all day. I'd still get somewhat inebriated.
You got to start about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Like Kevin did. Kevin started, what was it?
There's been days I start at 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
That's called vacation.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So what are your future goals with this? Now that you've gone pro, you now finally got a brick and mortar that's being successful. Do you plan on expanding that footprint or just maintaining?
We're growing the kitchen some more. We got to get more help in. My wife being full-time kitchen manager spends a lot more hours. She retired and is working harder than she ever did. And she reminds me about it all the time. So, and rightfully so. But we're working on, we are getting a good crew together to help. I'm training the assistant brewer, Josh, to take over the brewing duties. I'm going to be shifting more to sales. And the next stage is actually selling draft, which we're starting to do now.
Okay, cool.
Getting draft beer out to bars and taverns.
That kind of like getting the kegs to a Holy Hound downtown York or somebody like that.
Exactly.
That's cool. And I think that's great that those places exist that are willing to bring your beers in and they're not brewers, but they'll have 20 different breweries involved.
They're a craft beer bar.
Yeah.
And there's a following for that. I mean, let's face it. I love going to a craft beer bar, even if it ain't a brewery.
Yeah.
I tend to gravitate more to breweries just because.
Yeah. And what's that one you were talking about over in Lancaster, the beer wall or something?
Beer wall. Yeah.
Is that the new one that opened up where you walk up or no?
I don't know if it's new or not, but you get a certificate or a card that you can go and plug in, and you just draw your own beer.
I heard about that.
And you're only limited by the amount of money that you put on the card. So I mean, it's a nice idea. I like that, and it's something that I thought we should be able to get a chance to get over there, but our schedules have been pretty busy.
So
I understand busy.
Well, we've joked, since we've dabbled a little bit into the brews, and it was like a dream that we're never going to pursue because I like my weekends way too much.
Yeah.
The amount of work that goes into opening a brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
it requires, in my mind, it went faster. It always does when you're doing something in your head.
Yeah.
And then you got to do it for real. And it's like doing a project around the house.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll knock out in a weekend.
Yes.
And 6 months later, I finally get it done.
Hey, honey, have you done that yet?
No, I didn't get around to it. That's one of my round 2 projects. You know what a round 2 is.
Yeah.
I was kind of pushing it to round 3 or 4. That's pretty funny. Oh my, Dave, you got a couple things there you wanted to talk about.
Well, I was going to ask you the European level lager. That's nothing. That's not the same thing that your brother brewed, is it?
No, well, actually, my brother had a can kit, which is how most beginners begin.
Okay.
And it was a European lager can kit,
Yeah.
and it actually came out. I was amazed. It was like, wow, it's pretty decent.
Now, could they still
Now,
call
I'm
it
going back on brain cells from 1978.
Oh,
Keep
I
that
know.
in mind. I can't recall the exact taste, but I was like, this is good.
Shit, you remember the 70s. I'm sorry.
About half. They're a little hazy sometimes.
purple haze?
Yeah, it's a purple haze, all right.
So it was a lager kit.
Yeah.
But there
We had
wasn't
a
any.
can.
It wasn't any lagering involved. It
No.
was just like a base, and it was not
Yes.
properly lagered.
No,
Okay.
no, it was fermented in the basement at our house.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we both lived at home yet. I mean, Bill was a year and a half older than me, so I think he probably wasn't 21 yet, but almost. Almost.
Almost. I was wondering, is that how the law reads? Oh, almost 21, you can drink, you know. The sign above the
in
bar.
your house, you know,
Yeah, I know.
that's a little different.
Well, I've heard stories not just about beer, but some family. I know a family that the parents were wondering why the extension cord was going into the attic, and
That wasn't for beer.
it wasn't for beer. They were growing lights. That's all I will say.
Tomatoes, man. You ever have them Jet Stars?
But you've mentioned you won some awards with some of this stuff.
Well, back in the 90s when I was active in the homebrew club, I entered a lot of homebrew competitions.
Do you still do that at all? Or?
I kind of backed away from it because I get more satisfaction of my customer coming and telling me how much I love the beer.
That's good.
I don't pursue the entering the beers into the competitions too much anymore.
You're a BJCP judge. You know,
Say that 3 times.
I can't even say it once.
BJCP.
BJCP judge. Yeah, you might have to enlighten me on what that is.
Well, that is the beer judge certification program, which started in, I think, the late 80s.
Okay.
I took the exam in 95, I believe it was. And it was to train judges for judging competitions.
Gotcha.
Well, shit, I just gave him our beers. Like, man, no wonder he pushed to the side.
I didn't push it to the side. It's half gone right now.
We're going to get a nasty judge on that.
Yeah. We should do that. We should list. We should have every guest to come in, judge our beers, and then we can make a big long list on our site.
No, I want to see the podcast before I judge your beer.
You figure we still have the editing. we have the editing tools that we can do what we want with. Huh?
No, I'll gladly sample any beer you ever want me to.
I'll sample everything too. I've even, my
I don't
palate-
turn down sampling a beer.
And if I go to,
And if I can give some good feedback on it to help.
that's
I
what
mean,
I'm looking
I look
for.
at judging. The interesting thing is when I go to some competitions, there's judges that just want to ding for every little thing. And
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, no, you want to get feedback. Okay, if it's really bad, you let them know, hey, something's wrong. But you go through and try and point out, okay, I like this part of it.
Constructive criticism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not to tear the brewer apart. Some judges are like that.
Now, are you still involved with the Lancaster Brewers or
The club I'm not really involved with anymore.
Okay.
But I still help. Mark Garber does the Iron Brewer competition.
Yeah,
every
we
year.
just had his episode launched here not long ago.
Good guy. I've known
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
a long time. And so I help judge that competition.
Okay.
Limited judging, he'll ask me and I'll say, yeah, I can help out, but I don't judge like I used to.
Yeah,
I used to do a lot of it, and it just, who has time? I mean, I'm brewing, cooking, filling,
Right.
bartender, doing the taxes and
paying the bills.
and all the above.
One of our previous guests from the Scabs had his key lime pie sour over there at that Iron Brewers.
Yeah,
he won with that thing.
Yes, he did.
That was a phenomenal
Was good.
sour.
I was impressed.
And I
was actually at the awards
were
ceremony
you?
for that. Yes, he did a good job.
I ran into him at Gift Tours. We were down there for the Ales for Tales tap takeover, and
Was that Jim?
Jim Herbertson? Yes,
Yeah, that was a good beer.
it was. And he said,
And
"Yeah, I
actually,
was
Scabs
shocked."
did pretty good at the competition.
Yeah, I heard that. Those guys they could be pro brewers.
Oh yeah.
They got a setup. They got it down. But I've had a lot of key lime pie sours. I like sours once in a while, but that one there was just like all the notes, bang, 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 and it was like, wow.
The sours, I generally don't like the style. Okay, because as a liking to do traditional German European lagers, if it's sour, I F something up.
Well, and we've heard that story before, So if you brew a beer and it didn't come out what you were thinking,
Well, let's call it sour.
we'll call it something else and launch it that way.
But that said, I had a Berliner Weiss. I like.
Okay.
They're tart.
Yep.
They're not overly sour, and then you can mix the different syrups with them.
Well, what do they call it? The Bière de Garde or the French Saison?
No, that's the
But I'm
Berliner.
saying that's another.
That is another one.
Another tart beer.
And Tim at Stony Run.
Oh yeah.
He did he called it a Sunday sour, which was it's like an ice cream, and it was tart, a sweet tart, is the way I like to describe it.
Yep.
It was delicious. Now him and I did a collab on that. It's his recipe basically. We did a collaboration, but it was a little different. It didn't quite have it's more like a Berliner Weiss with raspberry.
Okay.
But my customers that like a sour, they're enjoying it.
And that's why I'll ask you, your tap room, how many taps do you have, and do you keep a variety there to keep multiple people happy, because not everybody chases the same beer?
I have the main tower is 10 taps. Then I have a kegerator. I got 4 taps.
Okay.
I only have one guest right now, which is Di Francesco's mead, because I'm running out of tap space. The other one is the collab I did with Tim, the tart.
Okay.
And then the other 12 are mine. And I've been trying to keep 9 regulars. I'm minimizing the rotation.
Makes less work for you.
Well, it's not so much that. People that like those beers, I want to keep them steady on. The long levels all the time. Now, if I run out of a beer, it might be a couple of weeks till it's back on. Meaning it ain't going to be out long. I do a Hefeweiss year round.
Okay.
Because they're good. Why should you only drink them in summer?
Right.
My good friend Bob Shank's Tavern in Marietta, loves Hefeweiss. And I met Bob probably in 93. He used to come to our homebrew meetings in York, Yaha meetings. And as long as I've known him, he's had Francis Connor or a Heffa on tap at his place in Marietta. Now, granted, he likes it. So that's a good reason.
Yeah.
But a lot of his customers drink it year round now because it's available. And a Hefeweiss is a good beer.
Yeah, it's not my favorite style. I'll drink it, but it's not one going to be my first choice when I walk in. I'm not going to order a Heffy.
What I found with Heffy, people either like them or they don't. You don't find much on the fence on that one. They're either like, hey, I love them, or blah.
I know Back Porch does I think theirs was a peanut butter Hefeweizen, which was really good.
That sounds different.
It was really good, so I drank that. But again, it's not going to be my first choice. And if I drink one, I'm good.
Well, that's like the Berliner Weiss.
Yeah.
I'll have one.
Yep.
And then I go to something.
Then it's something else.
Something else.
I'd be going back for that long level, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Hey, I got something I saw on your site. The bar that was crafted out of an old tree that was.
Well, actually, it was a tree my brother Bill cut down. The one that introduced me to homebrew years ago.
Homebrewing, yeah.
He has Eagle Claw Tree Service in Loganville.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up telling me that tree was actually cut down like 3 miles from where I live. There's actually Rudy Park.
I know where Rudy Park's at. Yeah.
There's an old quarry there.
Okay.
Stone Quarry.
Yeah.
The owners of that property, my brother told me that's where that English walnut tree came down from. And I only found that out like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But he cut that down and had it rough cut and had it stacked in a shed for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was going to buy the black walnut. I like black walnut. I was going to get black walnut on me. He goes, Mike, I got this English walnut. I said, what? I never worked with it. He goes, it's beautiful. And he showed it to me. And I was like, that's what I'm making a bar top out of. So my home brewery was / wood shop too. I have a full-blown wood shop in the brewery.
Yeah, Jack, he's a master of all trades here.
Yeah.
I dabbled in a lot of stuff over the years. Definitely. Woodworking has always been something I've enjoyed. Toolmaker by trade for a lot of years, so always working with my hands, mechanical.
And
I built the garage behind my house.
It all
I've been
comes
into a
in
lot
handy.
of construction. Yeah.
It all comes in handy when it comes to trying to open your own place.
Yeah, but then you think you can do it all. That's the only problem.
I have those thoughts too, but I usually have about a 6-pack in me.
They call that thinking fluid.
I got my beer goggles on. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I've seen the pictures of it, but we need to physically see it for ourselves, Dave.
Yeah,
We're gonna
you
have to
definitely need to
trip.
make a trip out. Definitely.
We're gonna have to.
The other thing was the bar was designed by a beer drinker. Okay, when you walk in there, it's set up for conversation.
Yeah.
It's the old style wraparound bar.
It's a wraparound. Yeah.
30 people can sit at the bar. Then there's 2 tables in the bar room you can get 8 people at. So you get 38, and there's a standing table. You get 40 people in the bar room. A lot of good conversation. And that's, if you think about it, that's what pubs were all about years ago.
They were close proximity, more just come in, have a
Social
conversation,
hangout.
get a couple pints, enjoy. Now, do you do live music down there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays are usually 6 to 9, and I've been playing with Saturday hours. I think I dialed in to 5 to 8 on Saturdays. Our music's geared towards geriatric crowd like me. We don't start music at 9 o'clock and go to 12 o'clock. I couldn't even do that when I was young.
Yeah.
Hey, he's cracking old jokes, not me.
I hear you. He's cracking them on himself, though. That's all.
Right in there. Most people my age are not opening a brewery. They're retiring.
Yeah. Or retired.
Or retired.
Yeah.
As my wife reminds me.
Yeah.
So did she kick you out of the kitchen? You don't know what you're doing. This is my kitchen.
Actually, she tells me, yes, this is my domain. Quit sticking your nose in here.
There you go.
And then what is she doing? She's sticking her nose in the bar. So,
Am I going to have to edit that part out so you don't get in trouble?
no, not at all. We have this conversation all the time.
Hey, I saw you had mac and cheese on your menu.
That's my wife's recipe.
Is it? Oh, okay. It's her recipe.
That is her recipe.
Yeah.
I had some that were mine. That one's all her. The panini sandwiches were her idea, and she came up with some good ideas.
That's a good idea, the
Yes.
panini sandwiches.
So the mac and
it
cheese,
is.
does that come with nice stewed tomatoes?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, man.
No, it doesn't. But,
I love stewed tomatoes and mac and cheese.
well, then you'll love our chili. We got stewed tomatoes in the chili.
Oh, okay.
And the chili is a chicken hot sausage chili. And people think white. I go, no. White chili? That's sacrilege. You got to have tomatoes in chili, in my humble opinion.
It's kind of like eating a white pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I've had some white pizzas that were like garlic shrimp. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they're done like that, they're
they were
delicious.
garlic.
Yeah,
But my wife also came up with the idea. They had a mac and cheese competition in Colombia. And she came up with the idea of Krabby Mac.
Oh,
She made a Krabby Mac and cheese and took second place at the competition.
wow, that's kind of cool.
And that was all her. That was all Jackie's idea.
I have to tell you the story on mac and cheese after we go off the air. And if anybody else wants to know what the story is, you have to go back a few of our episodes, a few weeks back, maybe more than that, to hear what I'm going to be talking to Mike about. And that's on our audience. You guys go back and listen to the episode.
That's our homework assignment.
But they have to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get those notifications.
There you go.
Why would they not want to subscribe?
Why would
That's
you not want
exactly
to
right, man.
subscribe?
Good
Yeah.
conversation and meeting fabulous people.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
we do this for fun.
Yeah. I'm looking at this beer here, and I'm starting to get a little thirsty.
So we're
the Colombian Red.
we'll get into it. Tell us a little bit about this one here, Mike.
Well, this one goes back. I first brewed this in '93. I fell in love with this style back then. It was called Sierra Nevada Celebration Ale. This was one of the early IPAs. This first was brewed, I think, in '82.
So it's not an amber ale.
No, it was Celebration Ale was the American IPA,
Okay.
which Sierra Nevada made famous. Basically, you had English IPA before the American IPA.
Yep.
And, of course, the American version, what they did is added a lot of West Coast hops. West Coast yeast, like the Chico yeast, the American strain. They amped up the hop more, but back then they still had malt to go with it. So the red color comes from the caramel malt. The caramel malt
Nice color.
helps balance the hop bitterness, hop flavor, and aroma.
So it's not a true West Coast,
Oh, this is the original
but it's
West Coast.
compared to what we have now as a West Coast. So
It morphed.
it morphed in.
Yes, even today's Celebration Ale is not as balanced as it.
Cheers,
Cheers.
to the Colombian Red IPA. You know what? It's not overly hoppy in the aroma. Not at all.
It's not. It's what I call a balanced IPA because it's more like the IPAs of the 90s.
That's fucking delicious.
The thing I like is when somebody says, I don't normally like an IPA, but I like that. And I tell them that's because this is a 90s version. It's balanced.
It is balanced.
You get a malt, caramel malt up front, a little sweetness. Then the bitterness comes in.
And it's not too bitter.
No. And then you get hop flavor.
Yep. At
And
the very
there is
end,
aroma. My nose is half stuffed up right now, so I don't get the nose.
there's very little aroma out of it as far as like an overabundance of that, what do
Right.
you want to say, pine, grapefruit, citrus
Right.
aroma. It's very little of that. There is some hop aroma to it. At the very end, it gets that dryness of an IPA that I'm getting.
Right.
And the balance between the sweetness of the malt and the hops. Now, I'm not sure what hops you have in this.
Classic Cascade.
Classic Cascade. So that should bring more of like a grapefruit or a pine note to it.
More of a piney, yeah. The grapefruit, I think, is more of your Chinook.
Okay. And we're still learning the different hops as to what
That's okay.
they bring to the party. But it
You ever
is-
notice taste buds can vary?
and everybody,
When you eat a food, you ever notice how your perception can change?
yeah. And like I'll taste different flavors.
Beer's the same way.
I'll taste different stuff than Dave does or
Yes.
Kevin. I won't get some of the notes, and those guys might. And the palates are different.
I don't have the best nose around, even as a beer judge. My sniffer's not always the best. Other people have what they call super taste buds and can pick up any of these.
They call them sommeliers.
Yeah. Oh, I smell this and I smell that and I smell that. I'm like, what?
But
I said, this just tastes like a damn good beer.
this is a damn good beer, Mike. This is a damn good beer. I could drink this.
What it does, you don't realize it's a 6.7
Yeah.
when you're drinking.
Well, that English IPA that you're drinking of ours, it's a 7.2.
Well, and back to that. This is just a hopped up version of your English. Really is what the early American IPAs were. The Englishes leaned more on the malt, less hop. The Americans threw the West Coast hop flavor in and up the bitterness some. But as you see, this still leaned balanced like an English.
It's balanced, and it's a very good beer. I'm gonna have to refill this one.
Well, we got more
I'm
here.
gonna have to refill all of them.
Well, when the Crowlers are gone, you're going to have to come over to the pub.
Well, then we'll have to come to the pub. So kudos.
Thank you.
Kudos to this one. This is, and as you can see, it is very clear.
This year marks 30 years since I brewed this first recipe.
And this is an OG. This is always on tap.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is regular. If I'm out of it, it's like a couple of weeks till it's back on.
Dave, you're not the IPA guy, but what do you think of that?
It's not bad. It's pretty good. But like you said, I'm not the IPA guy, and I would drink one or two of these, but I would be done.
You're gonna go like us. We're gonna go to the darker stuff.
Yep. You can go to the dark side.
We got a good dark side here. We got a very good dark side here.
Yeah, our forte is, and really what got us into this craft beer thing is the dark, heavy barrel aged stuff. That's really kind of what pushed us down this path.
You're speaking my language.
Oh my! The darker, the heavier, the more barrel aged, the better.
I haven't barrel aged anything yet, but the Russian you're getting ready to try. I patterned that after Sam Smith's Russian Imperial.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite all-time beers. Now, I call it a dessert beer or a nightcap because it's like 7.98%. I'm not going to sit and drink 3 or 4 of them at the bar.
No, and you can't. And when you start barrel age,
it's not meant.
They are enjoyable conversation
Split
beers.
'em, yes.
It's a conversation beer.
Now, we haven't barrel aged the Russian, but we make a beer cocktail at the brew pub with it.
So you're doing some beer cocktails.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're pouring the basically a 9-ounce glass, leaving some room at the top with that, and then we pour a half ounce of Hidden Stills bourbon on top.
Okay, so our Hidden Stills, that's a local distillery?
It is. They're out of Hershey.
I'm trying to think, is that the same one that Lydia and Stone uses, Hidden
Yes.
Stills?
Yes.
That Keith is using up there?
Yep. Hidden Stills is quite popular. They do a good job.
And we're trying to get contact with them. We'd love to have them on the show, so shout out to Hidden Stills.
I'll give you Tyler's contact info.
Please do.
Yes, and they would love that. Definitely.
Yeah, so that's what this is all about, man. We're here to focus on the craft industry in PA. And you've mentioned you've been doing this since basically the 80s and 90s. So you've been doing it way before it has become the mainstream niche that it is currently. I mean, what are we?
I was a nerd before it was cool.
Oh, here we go. 80s term, Revenge of the Nerds.
What was that? Was that a movie or something?
was.
Yeah, I know.
I made my wife, I actually strapped her to the sofa. You're going to watch this movie with me. I've seen it like 1,000.
Again.
I think I've seen it 1,000 times, but she goes, I never watched it. Guess what? You're going to watch it now.
Yeah, and your site says that you're pouring Pennsylvania wines and spirits.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That was one of the spirits you had mentioned. Just off the top of your head, do you know about how many wines?
Right now, Nestle. We do
Nestle,
the Grateful Red,
yes.
which is quite a popular wine. And then we actually have Alatone,
Okay.
which is they're set up as a Pennsylvania importer.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually, they have a very nice wine that I like because it comes in a box. It doesn't oxidize so quick. I'm not a wine drinker. I mean, I love a good port now and then. A well-aged port is delicious. But I didn't know when you open a bottle of wine, it has limited shelf life.
Yep.
It oxidizes.
Yeah, it does.
I don't have that problem with beer. I open a beer, it's gone.
It's gone.
Oh, but in the restaurant setting, we're selling it by the glass.
Yeah, you're selling it by the glass, and
Yes.
you pop a cork on a bottle of wine for a customer. You're hoping that you have some customers coming up behind him
Exactly.
to pour.
We ended
pour out
up
the rest of the
dumping a
bottle.
lot of wine when we first opened. Okay,
So the
because
box wines
weren't-
hold better shelf life?
without a doubt, because the air doesn't get to it.
Okay.
And so since we started using that, much better.
You got any Mad Dog 2020?
Oh, jeez.
I haven't had Mad Dog 2020 in a long time.
I thought that was banned from human consumption.
Yeah, he mentioned financial stuff when you were younger. Well, I had financial problems. You go in there, you buy Mad Dog
was that
2020 for like $5.
Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm. I was about to. No, you're gonna.
I did drink some of that back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, I think everybody has.
Strawberry Fields or something it was called. Something
yeah.
like
I
that.
didn't.
Well, you weren't around during the '70s.
You popped up later.
Wait a minute.
No, I was around. I just wasn't of age in the 70s.
Neither were we. No, I mean,
He was.
I was. Yeah. There was an episode of Red Fox's show when he was the junkyard deep.
Does he know who Red Fox is?
Sanford and Son.
Oh, yeah.
Love that show.
There was an
was
episode.
awesome.
There was an episode that I'll never forget. Is when his son Lamont was trying to. He had a guest that was coming. It was a chick that he was dating, so he went out and bought himself this expensive bottle of Beaujolais.
I do kind of remember that. And Red found it.
Red found it. And he took it, and he took the bottle of Beaujolais and mixed it with Ripple.
And he's going like,
He's drinking that bottle. And he says, now you can call it Beaujolais. He died laughing watching that episode.
I tell you what, that's a comedian that nobody will ever replace. I mean, Red Fox.
and then when you saw him rolling live, oh my God. Oh, wow.
Between him and Richard Pryor,
Yeah.
those were two classic acts.
They were.
You'll never
And
replace
George
that.
Carlin.
George Carlin.
Carlin.
Threw Carlin in there too.
Yes. Yeah. Those guys were great.
They were.
They were great.
Today they would hate him because they wouldn't be politically correct.
Yeah, they're not putting other stuff on Bud Light labels.
Yeah.
I probably have to edit that out, or we'll get banned from YouTube.
Yeah, you may have to edit that little.
Actually, it might spike your ratings.
It might be. I mean, I saw a meme with these new labels that are coming out from the mass producers, and everybody's in an uproar about it, except for one community. But yet they want to take they made a huge stink about the Aunt Jemima thing.
I saw that.
What is the difference?
Right.
I have no problem. Do what you want to do with
Aunt
the labels.
Jemima was a real woman.
She was.
Yes, he was.
And that was her brand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, that's what I don't get about the politics is like, okay, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander.
Right.
Period. I have no problem. Do what you want to do with your labels. I don't care.
Right.
I'm still not buying Bud Light. I have never bought a Bud Light.
Well, you're not buying it for the labels anyway.
No.
you're not buying it because of what's inside the beer itself.
The only light beer I sell at my brewery is H2O.
I'll do that in a restaurant that you
got to rinse out. You got to properly work kidneys. So.
I'll clean my palate out. Right.
They tell you that it's a good idea that you hydrate.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Well, water is in beer.
Like I said, it's the only light beer I offer there.
So it's funny. We'll go out to a restaurant and I'll order my beer and they'll bring water. I'm like, I'm getting water. I'm good. Now my wife she's not a beer drinker. She's not really a drinker, but
my wife's same boat.
She'll order a Coors Light. And they'll say, do you want water? I'm like, she just ordered a water.
Yeah. Yep.
But I should drink more water, but I don't.
I used to drink a lot more, but I got to get back in the habit. It's important.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Because now my day usually starts black coffee in the morning. And then my routine's changed now. I mean, I was in the factory working for a lot of years. I'm a 1 day a week consultant where I used to work. But my routine in the past year and a half, trying to get in a rhythm where you come into the brewery and, I got to get this done. I got this done. All of a sudden, you didn't even have your coffee yet.
Oh, no, I got to start today. I don't care what I'm doing.
But I mean, and I haven't eaten. And I'm like, I got to stop. I got to make sure. I got to force myself to eat because you get on this roll.
Right.
Yeah, I don't do breakfast. I've never done breakfast, and it's a downside to me. But
I've never woke up and go, oh, boy, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I got to be awake an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I want something to eat.
I wake up like, oh, shit, I need a coffee.
Yeah. It takes me about an hour to wake up.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's my wake-up routine usually in the morning. If it's dealing with an alarm, it's called 4 snoozes.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to get out of bed. And
Yeah.
I have.
You could say I'm not a morning person.
I am not either.
Never
am
been
I.
a morning person.
I got the bedside alarm clock going, wah, 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 and then on my cell phone, I got like 4 different alarms, and they're all set for different times.
Yes.
The last one is a loud, obnoxious one, like, you better get the fuck up.
Right. And mine start usually about an hour ahead.
So, speaking of that, what is a typical day for you in the brewery? And how many do you brew every day? Or
Oh, my
is there
God, no.
Okay.
We're averaging probably I'm trying to get in a routine once a week.
Okay.
Because besides brewing, naturally, you got process, you got cellar work, where it's not just after the fermentation's done, you got other work to do.
You got to check gravities on all of them to see if things are going. Do you spot check them and stuff?
Generally, that's pretty well dialed in.
Okay.
Tell when the activity dials down.
All right.
But you got a cold crash. Then you got to rack it into the bright tank. We're going to carbonate it. Then you got to clean the fermenter. So cleaning. Sanitation.
Yep.
That's 90% of brewing.
We started just doing the kits, that was the biggest thing. Clean it, sanitize it, clean it, sanitize it, sanitize it, sanitize it.
That seems to be a theme with almost everybody we talk to. It's got to be clean, got to be sanitized.
That's the science part of it.
But
you use the right sanitizer and procedures, it's not difficult.
CBW and Star Sand. That's what I have here.
I still like I'm old fashioned.
PBW, I'm sorry. PBW and Star Sand.
There's different types of PBW, but yes. And Sandy Clean I use instead of Star Sand. It's similar, but it's a low foaming, so I can CIP with it.
Okay.
But for hand washing and everything else, I love old Ida4. Iodine, diluted. That's the way I brewed years ago. It's been working for years. The milk industry uses it.
Yep.
It may discolor stuff, but I could take my freaking hands in and wash them in it. And it doesn't react like the Star Sand will.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just the old school brewer in me, though. I mean,
it's been working.
When I donate blood, they swab me with iodine. As long as you don't have an iodine allergy, you ain't got no problem with it. It works great.
Whatever works. If it's working for you, keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
So do you like music? Do you like sports? Any of that stuff? You have time for it?
Love music. Like we have it Fridays and Saturdays.
Do you play?
Oh, no.
Oh, I
want people coming in. They tolerate me singing at church. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
I asked that because we had quite a few guests that played.
Mark Carver was one of them.
Oh yeah, Mark's good.
Yeah, and
Mark's played. I've actually had him play at a couple of functions I've had over the years. Mark's good.
And I just thought I'd throw that out to find out if you played.
I'm not musically talented.
Neither am I, but I played in a band anyway.
I gotta say you were in a band.
I love music. I do love listening.
Yeah.
And hearing good music. Definitely love it. My wife and I like camping a lot.
You have time for that?
Actually, we just got a spot at Long Level.
Okay. Well, I remember you said that.
Yeah, we're trying to make
trying to make plans for it.
We're not open Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Retail.
Yep.
When I say not open, it doesn't mean I ain't doing something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's usually a typical brew days. That's usually the brew days for the home for the.
Actually, it varies. Brew days. I'm working around my assistant brewer right now because he was working another job, so it's based on his schedule right now and when I brew. But planning on a lot of taking off. Maybe Saturday 5 o'clock. The crew can close up for us. We head to the river.
Yeah, there we go.
Which is 10 minutes away.
Yeah, and it don't take you long to get down there.
No.
Grab a couple crowlers.
But I love doing a lot of walking and hiking. I've been slacking in that because of the work, but I got to get back to 3-4 days a week. I've only been hitting about 2. One thing I found important for my health is to stay in motion.
Yeah.
And I've always been an avid walking and hiking along that level because
I lift weights 12 ounces at a time.
Exactly. Plus, I used to eat a lot more than I do now, but I don't make the time. I've actually lost probably 8 or 10 pounds since I started full time with this.
I'll have to hook you up with my son because he's looking for someone to hike with. He wants to go up the PCT.
Well,
I'm sorry. I set you up on that one.
yes, you did.
He already hiked the Appalachian.
Yeah, he hiked the Appalachian. The whole thing.
Yeah, I would say he's an avid hiker.
Yeah. He's
No, that was a dream of mine when I was 18 or 20.
Really?
When
Was
I
it?
was 18 or 20.
to do the
yeah.
Appalachian.
Yeah, I still have an old backpack I bought at Shank.
You should do it. I've seen a lot of
The Mason Dixon runs right by my house where we camp. The Mason Dixon's there, and yeah, I like doing the 18, but mine is day hikes.
Day hikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I would love to put the pack on. I haven't done that in years.
And you know what?
Do a 2 or 3 dayer.
You need to make.
But my wife won't be going on that trip.
You need to make some
I should
time to do it.
I should do it because my wife won't be going.
Uh-oh.
Give her ass a break from me and me a break from her.
And that's what's going. What we see as we all get older. We have these aspirations like I shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
But we need to start taking that and making those realities. And you need to set time away from yourself because the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, I really should have done that, and now it's too late.
Well, and the other thing with staying active keeps the body moving.
Yeah, you can't retire. You sit at home. You're gonna go to waste.
Yeah,
you got.
The body's
keep
meant
moving.
to be in motion.
I play
We're meant to be in
racquetball.
motion.
I play racquetball once a week. I used to lift 5 times a week going to the gym. I don't have time for it anymore. I had back surgery, so I'm not doing that anymore. This is taking up a lot of time, so I don't have time to do it. But at least I'm making time for the racquetball because I'm not giving that up.
You need to say something aerobic active.
Yeah, so when I had my back surgery, the surgeon and I didn't get along the first conversation we had because he said, "What's your ultimate goal from the surgery?" I said, "To get back on the racquetball court." Oh, hell, he didn't want to hear that. He was like,
"What, is that bad in the back?"
Well, his goal as a surgeon is to get you back to everyday functionality.
Wouldn't that be even racquetball for you?
He's not the first surgeon that I've ever talked to that condemned me for lifting weights and being too active. I'm just going to leave it at that. But, I love racquetball. And you want a good cardio workout, go play racquetball for an hour. Probably one of the worst, the hardest things you're going to do. You'll put 10,000 steps in an hour playing racquetball.
Come down to Wildcat Falls with me. Let's go up the mountainside. You talk about a good cardio?
Dude, I don't know if I could do a walk. I'm not that good of shape anymore. We were watching Magic Mike XXL the other week.
Yeah,
that's with Channing Tatum, the stripper movie, the male strippers.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were watching that, and I went over to my wife and kind of did a little stripper thing. I'm like, honey, I ain't got no 6-pack. Baby, I got the whole keg.
Did she laugh?
Yeah, she laughed. Kind of like Get Away.
Well,
Leave me alone.
That was a chick flick anyway.
Yeah, but
not a lot of guys were watching Magic Mike.
Dude, I was into it, man.
I said not a lot of guys. Didn't say that none of them were watching it.
We had a date night in front of the television.
He did it for the wife.
He did it for the wife.
I left her choose.
Believe me,
He had to bite the bullet.
I've watched a lot of movies.
It paid
for
to
the
bite
wife.
the bullet. It paid to bite the bullet that night.
Oh, did it? Well, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of movies I've watched that were not. I wouldn't call them yawners, but I mean they were just
interesting thing. I hardly watch any movies anymore. I mean, I was always a news junkie, but I'm less of a news junkie anymore.
News is just all overrated and bullshit.
Well, there's very few that are accurate.
Yeah.
There are very few that are accurate anymore today.
It's hard.
But beyond that, I like getting some of the History Channel shows.
I love history. Anything
Discovery,
history.
the Science Channel.
Yeah.
I'll flip it on, and I still say TV was the best invention as a sleeping pill. Because I'll get down at the brewery, come home, I kick up the chair, my little freaking dog goes on my legs, I'm watching TV, I'm drinking that nightcap beer. About 30 minutes later, boom, I'm out. It is the best sleeping pill invented.
That was kind of like me after our last recording. with Something Wicked.
Oh yeah.
But that was something else induced.
I went upstairs, sat in a recliner. We were watching something on the Discovery Channel. It was the Elephant Show with Natalie Portman and stuff. It's an awesome show about elephants. And I don't remember the end of it.
Do you remember Natalie Portman?
Yeah, I remember. I knew who Natalie Portman is, but I was like, my wife said she's going to go get something to eat. I'm like, okay. I think she laid the pizza on my lap, and I think I laid there for like 20 minutes. Oh, I better get up.
You were out at the pizza.
I was out of it. But I love History Channel, Discovery.
That's a lot what I gravitate to.
You know, I'm a baseball
How It's Made.
nut. Yep. Oh, I miss.
How It's Made is
I
awesome.
miss the Mythbusters. I miss that.
that was a good show.
It was a good show.
Oh,
I like
God.
that show.
You know,
And
do you know? Speaking of MythBusters, you know Fat Jimmy up here.
You
Do you
talk,
remember Punkin' Chunkin'?
I remember
Yeah,
Punkin' Chunkin'.
Yeah.
I went one year with Fat Jimmy when it was down and the MythBuster.
What was down in Delaware?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I went-
'cause we went 1 year, too.
2012, I went down with Fat Jimmy. It was with that crew.
Oh, you were chunking them.
Well, I was just.
You were drinking the beer behind the thing.
I made a pumpkin ale for Fat Jimmy.
Okay.
It was for Fat Jimmy's Punkin' Chunkin'.
Wow.
This is before the brewery was open. And anyways, I was part of the peanut gallery. Let me put it that way.
So the year we were down was the actual last year that they had it when that lady got hurt.
That might have been the year after.
So no, this was just when they had stopped it and brought it back, and they brought it back to that field again in Millville.
And that shut everything down.
That's when that lady, I think she was one of the
cannons.
producers.
Yeah.
We were actually walking by that cannon
Oh, wow.
on the pedestrian side. We heard it go off, and then we heard a commotion.
Oh, wow.
And that was the last year they had Punkin' Chunkin' because I'm not sure if she died or she got seriously injured.
Yeah, she got, I forget too. But yeah,
But-
she was seriously injured. I remember that.
We were there, and we heard the thing as like, that didn't sound good. Then we saw a bunch of commotion. Of course, we didn't know what happened till after the fact.
Right.
But that was the end of the competition that day.
That shut pretty
shut
much
it down.
everything down.
Of course, we were out in the field, and like we still had to drive home. But it was fun. I mean, I missed that show, Mythbusters. Even when they tried to bring it back with the two new guys, I thought those two guys were funny. It just didn't last. But
Without Adam and the other guy.
yeah, I don't know.
They were the original.
Jamie and Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal show. And,
It was a good show.
you know, it's just right now she's watching something called Revengineering. Guy's an ex-NASA engineer, and he's got a lady that does, and they go around and they do some different stuff, kind of like Mythbusters, but they're not proving myths. So like the one we just watched the other night was they were at a park, people that come out of the porta pots and don't wash their hands. They took a porta pot, put it on a electric wheelchair base, and they would chase these people down and bump into them. You need to wash your hands. You need to wash your hands.
Jesus, that's almost
What a
like
shitty
Jackass.
But I love watching like that kind of stuff, you know. And I'll bore her with mine, like Hitler and Egypt and stuff like that.
Oh, I get on some. Yeah, my wife does. You know what my wife's watching? Oh, this new house, flip house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the flipping
I'm like,
houses.
forget it, honey. We're not getting another house.
Yeah, my wife likes to watch the Property Brothers and
Yeah, Jack, my wife's all
the
over
ones
that.
you know they go down to sell.
I just thought of an idea.
Oh.
Flip that brewery.
There you go. Flip that brewery.
I'm trying to get her profitable.
Oh, we got one more beer sitting in front of us here.
We got sidetracked. What happened here?
It is a conversation, buddy. This is what this is all about. This is just fun. So speaking of, Mike, any last comments? I mean, we appreciate you coming on the Central PA Pour. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. We've had a lot of laughs with you tonight.
I appreciate very much you invite me in. Definitely.
Tell us once again who you're with, where they can find you, hours that you're open, anything about Starview Brews.
Well, we are at 224 Locust Street in Columbia, Pennsylvania, right off Route 30, midpoint between York and Lancaster. A lot of people travel by there and don't realize what's right along the river. The Northwest Rail Trail is right there.
Turkey Hill Experience is right around there, too.
Turkey Hill Experience, but the rail trail starts like a block and a half from the brewery, goes up, I think it's like 13 miles up above Bainbridge, and you can actually do a round trip on a bicycle. A lot of people walk it. A lot of historic areas right in there, all around the place. You've got Hell in a Bucket in Wrightsville, another brewery right across the side of the river.
Which they're going to be a future guest.
So there's a lot going on. There's like a renaissance going on in the Columbia area. It's a lot of people are coming down because it's going back to its roots. Years ago, Columbia was a very historic town.
It was. I've read some of the history on that.
There was all kind of mining. Iron furnaces around there.
Yep. And you'd mentioned Chickies Rock and stuff like that. I mean, all that has to play into the history of that area.
There was the canal came right through there. There was a major transportation hub. They were considering Columbia to be capital of the United States in the late 1700s. And if you think about it, it's called Columbia, PA.
Yeah.
And today, the capital's in the District
of Columbia.
Yeah.
Thank God it went to the swamp. Do you know how screwed up Columbia would be today if that was the capital? So,
they
hindsight, that's a blessing in
They
disguise.
came across the river and stopped in York.
Yeah, they made York
the first capital. After they got chased out of Philadelphia.
There's a couple cities that claim that. Lancaster claims that. Philly claims that. York claims that.
Actually, I think Philadelphia was probably the first capital because the British chased them out of Philadelphia.
I think you're right. I think that's accurate.
So Philadelphia should be named the first capital. And then they probably made stops coming westward.
That's before they called it the city of brotherly love.
It wasn't no brotherly love back then. It may not be brotherly love now. Go to a Philadelphia sporting event. See, you'll find out all kind about brotherly love. Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on here, buddy. We've had a blast.
Oh, I should put in there that if you really like seafood, you should stop in at our pub. We've got an excellent menu to go with excellent beer, live music on Fridays and Saturdays, and a great atmosphere. You want to just come into a place, sit down, and carry on a good conversation, you need to stop in.
Kind of like the old Cheers theme.
Very much so.
To go in and see this nice English walnut bar top.
And we even have a Norm that stops in regular.
Now, do you have a Cliff and Dr. Crane?
I could probably call, Fred would be Cliff. Yeah, we can fill all the models.
You got the whole cast there. Dave, any last comments?
No, nothing more than the fact that I did enjoy myself, and it was like everyone we've had before. It's a conversation, and we just
we totally enjoyed it.
Yeah, we just sit and to it's a term. We just sit here and shoot the shit.
Yep, shoot the shit.
That's one of my favorite subjects.
That's the first swear word you've said on this podcast.
That's not really a swear word.
Yeah, it's borderline.
Actually, so my wife was watching before I get out of here. Speaking of television,
we got one more beer.
We got one beer.
Yeah,
Netflix. She was watching this thing called the origins of swear words.
Oh wow!
And fuck is not a swear word.
No, it isn't.
No, it's because
fornication under the consent of the king.
Of the king.
Yeah, pluck few. Pluck. There's another definition of what that means.
So every time I say the word fuck, fornication under the consent of the king.
I thought it had to do with drawing back the bow.
I didn't get that far. I just got
pluck
bored.
You. Because it was. Anyways, that's a whole other subject.
Well, that's a different subject because that was the finger.
Yes.
They used to that was the finger to use to pull back the bow, and they used to chop that off so that the archers could not fire the bows anymore without that finger. And
Exactly.
that was the French defeated the English in one battle, and to prove that they won, they would throw the finger up to show them that we still have this finger.
I knew the basis of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for elaborating on the detail.
No problem.
Is that the Frenchman on top of the tower yelling down during the Monty Python?
Monty Python, Search of the Holy Grail. Did you ever see that movie?
Bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces.
Yes. I had a friend of mine that could recite the entire the script from.
There were a lot of people
beginning to
really
end.
into that movie.
Well, they were drinking a lot of beer, killing a lot of brain cells, and maybe smoking a lot of the stuff in the attic with the extension cord going too.
I'm glad I left that in the 70s.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine with today's stuff.
Oh man! So, Mike, tell us about this last beer that we're gonna end this show with.
This last one is one of my favorite styles. I first brewed this around 96. This is brewed after the classic English Russian Imperial Stout put out by Sam Smith's Brewery. This was originally brewed for the Russian Tsars.
That's where the Russian Imperial comes from.
Exactly.
It's not a stout. Russian Imperial was brewed specifically.
Well, Russian Imperial Stout.
Yep, it was specifically brewed for that. I remember the history of
The
that.
strength being higher to ship over to Russia. And the Russian elite really enjoyed it. And the English brewers, they built quite a bit of business on this brand. But to me, this is a quintessential. It's a nice, full-bodied, sweet, rich beer. But at the same time, it doesn't finish cloyingly sweet. Do we say cheers?
So forged in Colombia, right?
Forged in Colombia.
Russian Imperial Stout.
Russian
So
Imperial
if
Stout.
you're out there, let's raise a glass, whatever you have in it, and let's cheers one here with Mike Knob from Starview Brews and the CPP, and let's all be bonded
by beer.
Cheers.